Welcome inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams. This week, Morel mushrooms are a forager's delight, but don't shortcut cleaning them.
You do not want to be visiting a whole morel that is hosting a family of centipedes. You will never forget that, and you'll never forget to split them open and clean them again.
As flood relief continues from Hurricane Helene, a musician raises money with a song inspired by West Virginia's 2016 floods.
She said, I've lived here all my life and I love living by this river. It's such a beautiful thing to be by, and when it gets like this, I just don't think I can live through another flood.
And not every pumpkin gets to be a jack-o'-lantern. Some are used in science experiments instead. You'll hear these stories and more this week inside Appalachia. Welcome inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams. Every spring, morel hunters head to the woods in search of mushrooms that look like little wrinkled Christmas trees. Some folks freeze them for later and even add them to their holiday menus. Folkways reporter Wendy Welch spoke with foragers and chefs in Virginia about how to safely harvest and prepare this beloved fungi.
Rain threatens as four people united by a common desire walk alongside a stream in Wythe County, Virginia. They are me, Wendy Welch, my Wytheville friends Nancy Martin and her husband Kirk Chamberlain.
Well, I'm just kind of more of a sightseer.
I am also just a sightseer and
Interested in coming along and learning more today.
And Adam Boring, a mushroom expert from Wise County.
Yes, I'm a master naturalist, the High Knob chapter.
Adam came to Jefferson National Forest in Wythe County to hunt morels. And when I heard he was coming, I asked if we could tag along. None of us have found a morel before. Adam was sympathetic.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the more difficult mushrooms, I think, to find.
Adam grew up in the town of Appalachia in southwest Virginia. He became a recognized expert by learning from experienced hunters. After his first mushroom hike in 2018, Adam began reading all the information he could find about fungi in central Appalachia.
I joined the Virginia Master Naturalists, and at the end of my training class, there was nobody who taught a mycology course. And one of the other Master Naturalists, I said, "Hey, Adam, you seem to like mushrooms. You should teach a class for it." I just kind of dove head first and didn't look back.
Adam, go if you see a tulip poplar, can you point that out to us?
Adam knows where to look. Up.
This is a tulip poplar.
He shows us how to find a poplar or sycamore tree, and then look down, nudging leaves with our toes until we reveal something that looks like a tiny tree or a beehive. Morels tend to be small, so it's easy to miss them in the leaf litter.
So the leaf litter can play a huge role in finding the morels. Sycamore leaves are very big and bulky and create a deep layer of leaves, and they can hide underneath those leaves. You can walk over them and never even know that you've found them until you accidentally kicked over the leaves and exposed them.
Also keep in mind that if your mushroom is more rounded than pointy, resembling an ear or a brain, it's likely a false morel.
Right here.
Yeah. Sorry.
There. No mushrooms. It's pretty dry.
Unfortunately, we don't find a single morel before the threatening thunderstorm arrives and washes out our hike. First-timers often head home empty-handed, says Elisa Powers. Elisa was raised in Pound, Virginia, in a coal community called Bold Camp. Her father is a renowned morel hunter. He taught his three daughters all the tricks of the craft.
We would just, pack up on a Saturday morning if the weather conditions had been right for it in the month of April. And we would just pack up the whole family and go, and they would, I remember being taught that when you see the first one, you'll know where to find the rest. And it's hard to explain, but it's very true.
Elisa found her first morel about age 8.
It was a treat. It was special. It was seasonal. I'm 47 years old. We've done this all our lives. My entire family does it. Both sides of the family does it.
Her father taught Elisa to bring home the morels. Her mother taught her how to fry them up in a pan. In her home kitchen, Elisa demonstrates how to run a sink full of water, add salt, and submerge the mushrooms. Leave them to soak for at least an hour.
I have never had them cleaned any other way besides the saltwater soak. And I'm probably not very interested in any other way either after I've seen the things that come out of them.
Those things include spiders, mites, and centipedes, so don't skimp on the soak. Next, slice the morels in half. This is both a final safety measure and what gives them their nickname of dry land fish. Sliced lengthwise, Elisa shows me, a true morel should resemble a gutted fish. Its stem is hollow.
If it's not hollow, you do not have a real morel. Just cut them in half lengthwise, and that way you can get anything that has crawled up in there out. You do not want to be visiting a whole morel that is hosting a family of centipedes. You will never forget that, and you'll never forget to split them open and clean them again.
Elisa's family has been known to consume more than 30 dry land fish in one sitting, so leftover morel storage was rarely an issue. But they do freeze well if you cook them first.
You can keep them, but since they're a mushroom, you can't just pop them in the freezer, because once the little ice crystals form, they're going to destroy the cells and you're going to be pulling mush out of the freezer later. But if you prepare them, clean them, and cook them foily as you were going to consume them, and then put them in the freezer, they will be good.
Indefinitely, she says. Elisa's family often pulls them out for Thanksgiving celebrations 6 months after freezing, if they can keep them that long without digging into them.
I am not sure how many morels I've eaten in my lifetime, but I'm sure it's more than most people have ever seen. I would say now in my adult years, where my dad, my morel concierge, brings them to me, I've probably got a couple dozen a year at most.
Over in Abingdon, Virginia, Ben Carroll would like to see more people eating morels. He is the owner and executive chef at Rain Restaurant. Rain is open only for evening meals, so Ben took time from his afternoon prepping to talk to me in the empty dining room. Ben triages how he cooks morels according to size.
I mean, if they're little bitty guys that are as big as like the tip of your thumb, then you just kind of keep them whole, and then you would just batter them and fry them.
The big ones he uses to explore culinary creativity.
You can stuff them. You know, we've made mousse before and used a little piping bag to like kind of fill them with some type of filling, and then you bread them and fry them. They're good that way, either like a cheese filling or like a pate kind of filling.
Ben never serves morels raw, though. He considers it a safety issue. Savoring the flavors of morels, no matter how you choose to cook them, is a time-honored Appalachian tradition and treat. When you're lucky enough to hunt them with friends or a family expert, you'll get to savor the memories, too. For Inside Appalachia, I'm Wendy Welch in Southwest Virginia.
That story is part of our Folkways reporting project, which covers arts and culture in our region. You can find more Folkways stories at our website, wvpublic.org. The mountains of Appalachia are home to some killer rock climbing. And in a lot of cases, its crags and cliffs are fairly easy to get to. That's why some groups are choosing Appalachia as a climbing destination and a place to return to time and time again. In 2023, Emily Chen Newton reported this story about why climbing festivals are making a home in Appalachia.
It's mid-October in Kentucky's Red River Gorge, and the trees are just beginning to take on their autumn colors as rock climbers from around the world flock to the region. The crunching of dried leaves and clanking of metal safety gear creates a type of rock climber's soundtrack. But on this particular weekend, you might also hear ATVs grinding up the trails, bringing wheelchair users to the area. This is the 4th annual Adaptive Climbers Festival, which brings together climbers with disabilities from across North America. Sydney Kessler is one of those climbers.
I've been climbing outdoors for now 2 days.
Sitting in the shade of the cliff, Sydney explains she started climbing indoors about a year ago. There, she learned some tricks like wearing knee pads to avoid bruises because she doesn't have much feeling or use in her legs from a spinal cord injury.
For me, my climbing it's basically 20 pull-ups in a row and figure out where I can grab my fingers into a hole or use a palm down method and try to push with one hand and pull with the other.
And every climber at this festival finds their own adaptations and accommodations to their different disabilities, visual, neurological, or limb differences. And the camping and transportation accommodations are just as varied as the climbing styles. The festival planning crew considers all of this when choosing the location.
For the Adaptive Climbers Festival, we have such a very specific list of needs.
This is Maureen Beck, who goes by Mo. Mo is an internationally decorated climber born without her lower left arm and one of the festival organizers. The Red River Gorge is known simply as the Red to climbers, and while it's renowned as some of the best climbing in the world for its overhanging sandstone cliffs or crags, she says that's not why the festival landed here.
As you can imagine, there's a world-class climbing, all over the country that have excellent world-class festivals. But you can't get a wheelchair to the base of the crag, or you don't have enough cabins for people to sleep in because they can't sleep in tents because of their medical conditions. And so for us, the Red fit this very narrow need of accessible crags, accessible lodging and camping, and then a community that can support us, because we've had this festival in 2 other locations, and the support we have gotten from the local climbers, local business owners here, is unparalleled to any place we've had this.
One of those local businesses is Lago Linda's Hideaway Campground, where the festival lodging is based.
The owners here at Lago Linda's are going above and beyond to retrofit their bathrooms to meet ADA compliance. They're adding ramps to all of their cabins and buildings. They, off the cuff, booked a band for Saturday night because they want everybody to have a good time.
Larry and Elaine Fredrickson run Lago Linda's Hideaway. They've added grab bars to the shared bathrooms and ensured the showers are large enough for wheelchairs and other mobility aids. The couple sat down with me before the event kicked off, and Elaine said why they do it is simple.
Once you sit up and look at the sky at night and you see those stars, it's just beautiful and peaceful. Nobody should be denied that. Nobody.
Another major part of the community system for the festival is the Muir Valley Nature Preserve and Climbing Area, where the adaptive athletes climb and teach their clinics. Like at the campground, ramps and railings were added for the event. Zane Paff is a local search and rescue volunteer and one of the valley's caretakers. He says Muir Valley and 2 search and rescue crews from surrounding counties support the festival with transportation in ATV buggies.
The Lee County will bring in their buggy, and the Wolf County will bring in their buggy, which these are just razors. We call them our rescue buggies. And then it's just a day of playing taxi and having fun.
He says riding in an ATV was new for most of the climbers last year.
I mean, they were joking around, having a blast, and psyching me up. And just none of them been in an ATV, so I'm like, well, hold on. Had a little bit of fun with it, but made sure we were being safe, too. And Muir Valley doesn't allow any electric or motorized vehicles except for this event, actually. And we're only using it for like anybody in a wheelchair, if they're missing a limb, can't get themselves to Bruise Brothers. We'll drop them right off at the climb that they want to go up.
I catch up with Sydney after she's finished one of those climbing routes, one of the many she's done with the help of Zane and his ATV. She tells me this sport reminds her of her recovery.
When you go on a wall, you don't exactly know what's ahead, and you just kind of figure it out as you go, and then you eventually make it to the top. So I feel like it shows you how to do hard things, and it gives you the confidence to believe that you can continue to do hard things even if you don't really know exactly what you're getting yourself into.
Something else she learned she could do this weekend was camping.
I was like, I don't know how I'm going to sleep in a tent and like pressure. So, like there's a lot of things that you have to think about when you have a disability that...
Like pressure points?
Pressure points, or just getting in and out of a tent, like transferring from a wheelchair to a tent. I didn't know how exactly that would work, but I went straight from the chair down to the tent floor, so...
Oh, good. So you could get your chair into the tent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was like in the rain, underneath the rain...
Oh, the rain fly.
Rain fly, yeah. See, I don't know any of the terms.
She says it's the support of her adaptive family that makes it possible.
Even just a couple minutes ago, I was at the top, my arms were burning, I had to give it a little shake out, and you listen to it when you're up on the wall. You listen to all the people behind you cheering you on, and it's a truly supportive community. It's hard to find that supportive community that don't treat you in a certain way because of your disability, but they're there to support you in however they can to help you do what you want to do. It's literally like a mindset of whatever it takes to get you to where you want to go, that you have the people power to do it.
And the people power is exactly what Mo emphasizes too. Much of the climbable land in the Red and throughout Appalachia is owned by individual people or private organizations. This is in contrast to the western United States, where many climbing areas fall under the jurisdiction of the Bureau of Land Management or other public land governance. In fact, nearly 60% of all climbing in the U.S. is on federally managed land, making the Red and other such areas in and around Appalachia unique. The folks who run Muir Valley can reserve cliffs for special groups because they own the land. It was a quick conversation, Mo says, when they asked to use the area for the festival.
They were more than willing to shut down crags for us. One of them was one of the most popular crags in the entire gorge.
And that's not the only part of the Appalachian landscape that makes it a good fit for this event.
Most of even the walking paths here are dirt and soft and gentle. They're not like huge rocky scree things. And when you stop to think about it, so many of them are on these old or even currently used oil roads or logging roads, and it's just gentle.
Climbing areas throughout Appalachia feature these access roads that are currently used by or left by extractive industries like timber, natural gas, and oil. With trails originally forged as logging or oil access roads, they're much wider, more even, and more accessible than what you get at other climbing destinations. Many of the trails in Muir Valley are modified logging cuts, making them great for ATVs. You might not be able to follow an access road all the way to the base of a climb, but you can get pretty dang close. This is the case for one of the Red's most famous areas, the Mother Lode.
So, we were able to bring one of our wheelchair athletes to the Mother Lode last year. And most of the time he was still in his chair. And that's always a big goal with folks who use chairs, is to keep them in it. A little bit he had to get backpacked and carried. But it's like a huge dignity and safety thing. Like, the more they can be in their chair, the better for that human. For the Mother Lode, it was like 80% of the time he was in that chair. And, not all of our athletes, I think when people think disabled athletes, they think a lot of wheelchairs. But we have a lot of folks with walkers, or who use side sticks, or who just use trekking poles. Or, we have a lot of athletes whose, legs work fine, but maybe they can't carry a pack that far.
And no matter a person's disability, they're welcomed as part of the family. One big family reunion is something I've heard over and over again while reporting on this event for 2 years now. So it makes sense that the small family-run businesses are such an integral part of the gathering. Miguel's Pizza is one of the most well-known local businesses and a staple of the festival lunches. Zane says Miguel's is emblematic of the festival vibe.
It's like you see over at Miguel's, just like families running businesses, and even Lago Linda's is family owned and operated. So you're just getting a big warm welcome when you come down here.
But Kentucky's Red River Gorge isn't the only Appalachian climbing destination serving as a home base for niche festivals. Homo Climbtastic is the largest queer-friendly climbing gathering in the world, and for over a decade, they've called Fayetteville, West Virginia, their home, climbing in the New River Gorge. I spoke with one of the organizers, Jay Dempsey, over the phone about how the town shows their support.
They're putting together window displays full of color for us, and to see pride flags all over town at almost every business. It can make you cry. Yeah.
He says Fayetteville, being a small town, facilitates climbers and locals actually connecting. For example, when picking out a place for dinner.
You're going to choose from one of, 10 restaurants, probably a locally owned family restaurant. You're going to feel more connected to the town where you're staying. You're going to feel that reason why all the locals choose to live there.
For nearly the whole life of the festival, Homo Climbtastic has been hosted at the Whitewater Guide Company and Campground Cantrell's Ultimate Rafting. Owner Nancy Cantrell spoke with me over the phone in between hopping on reservation calls.
I don't have anybody else on the phones this time of year because we're getting ready to shut her down.
Cantrell's is the only family-owned and operated raft guide company in West Virginia. Nancy and her husband Richie are West by God born and raised, and they've seen the shift in the economy in Fayetteville over the years, spurred on by groups of rafters and climbers.
We grew up here. We were raised, grew up in Hinton, an hour and 15 minutes south. And of course, rural West Virginia and southern West Virginia is not greatest for employment anymore because we've lost the coal industry. So high-priced jobs aren't there. Most of us are dependent on the tourist industry, unless you're a school teacher, pretty much. So any type of gathering like this and events and large number of people that come in really helps that economy. But the homoclimatastics, they go out, they eat at several of the different local eateries. They shop in the outfitter stores for equipment. I mean, they bring a lot of additional income into the area that helps sponsor jobs that people really need in this area.
Just like how the folks who run the campground in Kentucky installed ramps and grab bars for their campers' safety, Nancy also takes precautions to make sure everyone at the queer-friendly event is safe while at Cantrell's.
Now, I close my campus when they come. It is their campus. This is their home while they're here. You got a common bathhouse. I don't have to worry that there's any kind of altercation going on or issue or anything like that. It's just a nice, safe environment for them.
The support and protection is certainly felt by the climbers. Here's Jay Dempsey again.
In a world where there is a difference between accepting and welcoming, they are incredibly welcoming. It's warm. They learn everyone's name. It's just a great place to kind of call home for a weekend.
Jason Traylor is another member of the Homoclimtastic crew. Talking over a video call, he said that Fayetteville feels like a safe location because it's rural but not totally isolated.
Having a place that's not remote allows you to have more like safety protocols and things like that nature, because that's like a huge thing with any like queer event, to be able to like get help that we may need.
Both the adaptive and queer climbing communities have within them even more diversity than their niche names suggest. And it's important to say here that many climbers of color within these communities and beyond don't always feel at home in Appalachian climbing destinations. Jason, who's Black, says he's always felt safe and welcomed at Homoclimtastic, but...
And I've talked to like other BIPOC people when they go in these areas. They just, they feel, just the stares, even if they're not like judgmental stares. It's just the stares, but like, who's to say what they mean?
We'll hear more about climbing festivals in Appalachia after the break. You're Inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams.
Support for Inside Appalachia is provided by Concord University, educating the people of our region and beyond for more than 150 years. More information at concord.edu.
Before the break, we heard how adaptive climbing groups have made Appalachia a destination. Let's pick back up with Emily Chen Newton as she returns to the Red River Gorge in Kentucky.
Back in Kentucky, festival goers sit on a long wooden bench waiting to climb. Karima Batts is a Black adaptive climber waiting for her turn. And she says there's safety in numbers.
Oh, I feel safe right here with my homies. I feel great. But when I'm on my way here, no. No.
And would you ever come to the Red on your own?
No.
It was just like
I gotta be with a safe group of some sort, something.
It's only in recent years that conversations about race and inclusion have been embraced by climbing culture as a whole.
Things happening in 2020 allowed me to be a little bit more open about how I've always felt like the last 12 years, because I've always been the Black paraclimber all the time. I enjoy being in a space. I enjoy my community overall. But there's certain instances when I've traveled or, kind of feel like I'm on the outside looking in.
There are some initiatives within the climbing community at large to do things like change the names of climbing routes originally using racist or bigoted terms. Karima has been part of some of these efforts.
You're going to make everyone feel safe? Impossible. But can you improve it? Yes.
Jason from Homo Climbtastic says the name changes benefit everyone, not just select groups of people.
I think it makes it more welcoming as like not just like for individuals, but also like for the mainstream family, you know, and like, you know, it just like to understand we as human beings evolve. And so that means if we as human beings evolve, that means our communities must evolve with it.
Nancy Cantrell has been around long enough to see her community of Fayetteville, West Virginia evolve because, she says, of the influence of those who came originally for the whitewater and the rocks.
A lot of those initial outdoor adventurers that came into the area to enjoy the area ended up moving here. They're adults now. Some of them are in their 60s, you know? So their kids have came up through the school system, and now their kids have got kids in the school system. And they've certainly demonstrated their commitment to the area and proven it. And I think the locals that actually were born here see that and respect that. And, you know, it's a very blended, eclectic little community. For Southern West Virginia, it's an anomaly. And it's been because of the outdoor adventure community that is how it's evolved.
The outdoor adventure economy in Kentucky's Red River Gorge isn't quite as mature as Fayetteville's, but it's heading in that direction, with new signs for kayak and cabin rentals popping up each year. Over a couple slices of a legendary pizza at Miguel's, I talk with John May. He's chief of the Wolfe County Search and Rescue, which provides ATVs for the Adaptive Festival. We're at one of the outside tables, every one of them packed. There's a basketball court behind us, and John waves to a cliff line in the distance.
Used to be a pasture up there with cattle roaming, and now you might see a cabin. You still see the pastures too, you know. Some people don't want to give that up, but it's giving the local community, you know, a way to, you know, maybe live a little better life, you know. By a lot of my friends now are building cabins. You know, we built a couple of cabins, and you know, and it's good. It's a good business. So
John has lived here his whole life, and he says that climbing is bringing a new perspective about the value of the land in the area.
Because we mainly have farmers and people that work in coal industry, and cliff lines were a way cattle would fall off and die, you know. And now it's like, what? You know, I can build a cabin on that, and I can rent that cabin out, you know. So I think people are starting to see the opportunity in it. Not just if you own a business and selling food, but maybe you're a guide, you know, and you can go out and make a good living doing that. And it's really changed, you know, how people look at some of the property that they own for generations, and now they're kind of making money off of it instead of just raising farm animals.
The change in perspective goes both ways, though. Mo, the Adaptive Festival organizer, has climbed all over the world, and she says her opinion of Kentucky changed after actually spending time here.
Even when I had heard of the Red River Gorge, I was like, ugh, Kentucky. Like, I'll never love Kentucky. Like, what's Kentucky? And now I'm like, oh my God, can I buy a house in Kentucky, please? It's one of my favorite places. Like, climbing's amazing like that, though. This activity, it's this hobby, it's this passion that just lets you see the world through a different lens, not only because you're literally on a cliff 100 feet up, but because you're just experiencing places that you would never think about otherwise.
And wanting to become even more involved, Mo says they plan to add a community service project to the festival.
Because, like, I think so many people in our community are used to being served. And I think people are used to serving us. And I would love to flip that around and be like, no, we can also be a part of this community and give service back to it.
Homo Climbtastic has their own way of giving back. They raise money with their annual drag show for local causes. Last year, the money was given to a safe house for queer youth in Morgantown, West Virginia. And efforts like these are how they've become part of the eclectic community in Fayetteville. Nancy says they're like family.
We just fell in love with them, and it is like a reunion for us now.
This is just how Larry and Elaine talk about the adaptive climbers who come to their campground. It's the last night of the gathering, and they heard two climbers who met at the Kentucky Festival last year wanted to get married this year. So they're pulling out all the stops. Unprompted, they arrange for a bluegrass band and a hairdresser for the bride. I catch Elaine bringing candles and mason jars to her crew working on the ceremony archway.
I love what you did here. It's so beautiful.
She tells me the archway and homemade cake are decorated with flowers from the surrounding woods.
They're working with natural flowers and lights, all from this area. And we do have some that is plastic, but majority are from... It's October. Correct.
They're busy getting ready, but she gives me a quick tour of the party supplies inside.
We got lights, we got decorations, we have tablecloths, we have a champagne for them. It will be on ice, but it's in the fridge right now. We have a guest book, which I think is the most important thing, so they can go back and see who has attended their wedding.
The ceremony was beautiful, and as the night went on, the blended community that's forming here was on full display. The wooden slats of the dance floor vibrated with bluegrass tunes and rock climbers, some in wheelchairs, some with prosthetics, all dancing. Sydney says this was an important moment for her.
Like, usually if I'm dancing, I'm with people that are like jumping, and that's great, but I'm usually the only chair user. And so the fact that I'm dancing with other chair users and people that maybe they don't have your exact circumstance, but they have something, or they're here for some reason, there's literally no other community like it.
Mo says that their community service next year could be an accessible trail project or trash cleanup, but no matter what, they plan on calling this place home for a while. For Inside Appalachia, I'm Emily Chen Newton in the red.
After last year's train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, people in the area got sick, even in places that were deemed safe. Now, new studies, done in partnership with the community, are shedding new light on the contamination. The Allegheny Front's Julie Grant has more.
After the Norfolk Southern train derailed along the Pennsylvania-Ohio border, releasing 1.1 million pounds of vinyl chloride and other chemicals into the environment, the National Science Foundation responded quickly. The independent federal agency funded university-based research, including a study by Andrew Welton of Purdue University. His team tested for chemicals in waterways, homes, and buildings, and even beehives near the derailment site 6 times over 4.5 months. I asked him what they were looking for.
Our goal was to better understand what chemicals were released, where did they go, what exposures were there, and how to reduce or remove those exposures completely.
Can you talk a little bit about how you went about this?
We sent a team to the area to document what types of contamination was present, collected water samples and air samples, soil samples, brought it back to Purdue University in Indiana. We then characterized these materials for a whole host of chemicals, some that officials had said that might be present, and others we went hunting for because we had a theory that they were present, but potentially officials weren't testing for them.
In the study, you mentioned chemicals like 2-chlorophenol and 2-ethylhexanol. Did you find these chemicals?
We identified a number of chemicals in the waterways, in soil and sediment that officials claimed were there from the spill. But we also found a number of other chemicals in places where officials were not necessarily testing. And that's because we designed our sampling approach based upon the needs of the community that were being messaged and told to us by those community members.
Yeah, I was struck by one thing I saw in your paper that described, I think, contractors from Norfolk Southern were testing inside a building. What happened there?
Well, one of the major failures of this response was that the evacuation order was lifted, people were sent back into their homes and businesses and got sick. And it's partly because Norfolk Southern's contractors were permitted to use devices that were incapable of finding chemical levels in buildings that could cause health effects. While their devices read that there was no contamination, Norfolk Southern's contractors actually wrote down on their data sheet that they had to leave the building because the odors were so bad.
So is there anything you take from this, from your study in particular?
When disasters, natural disasters, man-made disasters happen and chemicals are released, you have to have people in positions of authority that can make decisions about selecting the right equipment and using the right tests. And so when you have that fail, then you have people and businesses reopening where everybody starts getting sick. And you just have a failure at multiple levels of agencies acting on behalf of the public. And that then prompts number 2, which is, as you know, in East Palestine, not only did railroad workers get sick, residents got sick, business owners got sick, visitors to town got sick, politicians got sick, and even the CDC workers that came in to conduct a public health investigation got sick. You have this cascading effect of injury and harm.
Andrew Welton is an engineering professor at Purdue University. For more about the studies, visit the Allegheny Front. Hurricane Helene demonstrated how parts of Appalachia are vulnerable in ways few people thought about. Flooding wiped out thousands of acres of farmland in East Tennessee, in some places washing away soil right down to the bedrock. WUOT's Pierce Gentry reports that farmers are starting to learn there are few resources available to help them.
The water went all the way up to that telephone pole.
John Heilman II was working at his second job when he learned that waters were rapidly rising on the Nolichucky River, threatening hundreds of acres of pasture and farmland that has been in his family for generations.
By the time I arrived at work at 7, people was texting me saying, hey, we're evacuating hospitals, things like that. Everything started changing. By the time I chose to come home, everything was way underwater.
The Heilman family farm sits along the banks of the Nolichucky River, just a couple of miles from the town of Irwin and the Unicoi County Hospital. When the river rose to unprecedented heights of 30 to 35 feet, it decimated the land.
In 4 hours, literally lost everything.
The Heilmans lost 650 acres of pasture, 1,000 bales of hay, several barns, and millions of dollars worth of equipment.
I didn't keep a bit of money for myself. I'd work the next 40 years and still not be able to pay off what we're out right now.
The Heilman family farm is just one of hundreds along the Nolichucky River that has lost almost everything. Here's Chris Mackey. He's the director of the University of Tennessee's Unicoi County Agricultural Extension Office.
I mean, there's still feet of sand and silt and mud that is on top of their property. Some of it has been washed away down to nothing but bedrock.
His office has been working with dozens of farmers to help with cleanup and pass out supplies.
Trying to put that land back in use is going to be quite a bit of a challenge.
Agriculture is one of Tennessee's largest industries and uses about 40% of the state's total land. But despite their importance, there aren't a lot of disaster resources being offered to farms specifically. On a sunny afternoon in October, 36 local farmers gathered on a farm in Washington County to meet with representatives from the state and U.S. Departments of Agriculture to see what's available. Tennessee Department of Agriculture Deputy Commissioner Jeff Aiken told them the agency is trying to get funding for some relief programs.
We don't have a lot of money, obviously, that we can commit to the thing right now, but
for right now, that leaves most farmers relying on the U.S. Department of Agriculture's recovery programs. But those are mostly limited to long-term reimbursement or loans for specific expenses. John Litz is the executive director for the USDA's Farm Service Agency office in Tennessee. He says the department wants to provide as much help as it can, but they're waiting on congressional approval.
We're not finished with this yet. I mean, we're trying our best to be able to figure out how that we can better serve farmers and what financial obligations it's going to take to do that. One of the big things it takes money to do this, and that money has to come from Congress. Congress has to appropriate it.
Back at the Heilman farm, John II works nights, then returns home to clean up the property and prep his cattle for winter.
There's no real game plan because the nature of the work that'll go into doing what has to be done. This is not only affecting me this year, this is going to affect me for years to come.
Heilman said he's grateful for the programs that are available, but he'll still have to take out personal loans to even start the recovery process. I'm Pierce Gentry in Irwin, Tennessee.
Out of disaster, sometimes comes a song. In 2016, torrential rains resulted in one of the deadliest floods in West Virginia. It inspired this song by Chris Haddix called "Oh, This River."
Didn't that water come up fast, faster than I ever seen, and me living on the river all this time? Didn't that water come up high, like a scary dream, but dreams don't leave these kinds of marks behind. Oh, this
Now the song has new purpose. Since Hurricane Helene, Haddix has been using "Oh, This River" to raise money for people in North Carolina. Folkways reporter Connie Bailey-Kitt spoke with him about the story behind the song.
Chris, thank you so much for talking with me. Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Chris Haddix, and I live up in Morgantown, West Virginia. Professor at West Virginia University in the College of Creative Arts and Media. I earn my living through my professorly work, but music's been the constant in my life since I was a kid.
Well, let me ask you about the song, Oh, This River. It came out of the 2016 flood that hit White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. Can you tell us what happened and about your connection to that event?
Yeah. I attend the Presbyterian Church here in Morgantown, and I got a call, somebody at the Presbytery office in Charleston, and they were looking for musicians to go to White Sulphur Springs. And they said, there's a lot of people there cleaning up and providing food, and would you be interested in going to just playing music, and maybe that'll take people's minds off things for a while. There was a big tent that was kind of a central staging area for meals and communications and that sort of thing. And we sat under there and played, and people seemed to enjoy it. At one of the times I was sitting under the big tent, and there was a woman sitting there by herself, kind of staring off. And I thought, well, I'm going to go over, and she looks distraught, and I'm just going to go sit beside her and chat with her if she wants to chat. She just started talking, and not really talking directly to me, but just kind of talking in my direction. And she just started saying, I don't think I can do this again. She said, I've lived here all my life, and I love living by this river. It's such a beautiful thing to be by. And when it gets like this, I just don't think I can live through another flood. So I was just thinking about all that as I was riding home, and this song kind of came out of that conversation.
Ain't I standing here like before? The river's in my blood. If you never lived here, you could never understand. Oh, this river, there's nothing like it when it's running clear. Not a drop of trouble here. It's peaceful all around.
So fast forward to today, after Hurricane Helene tore through western North Carolina, why did you decide to use this song as a fundraiser?
I think we all, when we see something like that, our first reaction as a species is generally, what can I do to help? And I woke up one morning, that song was running through my head, and as I said in my little fundraising thing, can a song born of a flood help raise money for relief from another flood? I mean, that was kind of the idea that was floating through my head. So I just thought, well, I'll donate it. You can buy the song for whatever. I set $1 minimum on it, and some people paid $1, some people paid $100. So that's kind of how it came about.
Your music has these interesting connections to personal and community disasters, both the White Sulphur Spring flood and now the devastation that's been caused by Hurricane Helene. What role do you think music can play during events like these?
There's a whole genre of disaster songs, and some of them are just a telling of a story, and in others it's more the telling of the story, and they're really kind of tugging at the emotions in it. Maybe at some level, Connie, it helps just process what's going on, to hear it coming back at you. You're not just reliving it in your head. You're hearing somebody else kind of sing it. And I think it kind of has the opportunity to validate what you're feeling as a person who maybe has gone through that and has experienced that trauma, to kind of hear it out there that, wow, it's not just me that's feeling this or thinking this. I don't know. It just seemed like maybe that's what this song's purpose was to have some bigger impact than just being a song I sing in a show.
There's nothing like it when it's running clear. Not a drop of trouble here. It's peaceful all around. Get out of hand, let you know who's boss it can. Too much rain comes down.
That was musician Chris Haddix, speaking with Folkways reporter Connie Bailey-Kitts. For more Folkways stories, check our website, wvpublic.org.
Too much rain comes down.
Just because Halloween is over doesn't mean pumpkin season is done. At West Virginia University, the Big Orange Gourds are part of an annual challenge that takes a lot of guts. Pumpkin guts. WVPB's Chris Schultz has more.
In late October, more than 1,000 students from across West Virginia and western Pennsylvania tried to keep their gourds intact as they sailed more than 100 feet through the air at the 35th annual Pumpkin Drop at West Virginia University. On the line are cash prizes, $100 for first place, $50 for second place, and $25 for third place, as well as bragging rights for the best protected pumpkin. Students like 8th grader Luke Moore from Tyler Consolidated Middle School formed teams with classmates to try and create a structure that will protect their pumpkin from the drop, or more accurately, the impact at the end. Moore says his team tried an unconventional shape to absorb some of the force of a fall 11 stories off of the WVU Engineering Sciences building.
We built an upside-down pyramid so it can go down easier, and if it hits the tip, the energy is dispersed through the top of the pyramid.
Ultimately, the design wasn't successful, although another team of Moore's classmates did tie for third this year. While a smashed pumpkin isn't great, Moore and his teammates are in good spirits.
The people here are really great, and the fact that we get to do a school project and then come to a school like this and get to throw stuff off the building.
Students and teachers alike are energized by the event. Melissa Courtwright is a 7th and 8th grade gifted teacher at Mountaineer Middle School in Morgantown. She says the event promotes a lot of engineering design and creativity from students who must adhere to certain rules, like using a pumpkin with a diameter of at least 10 inches and a total structure weight of no more than 50 pounds to protect it during the free fall.
Our kids have spent the last week or so developing and building enclosures for their pumpkins to protect them from this huge drop from the roof to the ground, and trying to get them as aerodynamic as possible so that they can also land within this target.
Courtwright says the event is a great and unique educational opportunity, both before and after.
We just love doing the event, and we even like the after, where we do a full debrief with our kids, and they have to go through and they have to know, did their pumpkin survive? How far was it from the target? What could they have changed? And so they learn from the experience, and that's what we hope that they get out of it, is that learning experience.
Scott Wayne is an associate engineering professor at WVU. He was a WVU student himself when the drop started in the 1980s.
When we first started, it was a fun competition for engineering students. Our freshman engineering students got involved, and then we started inviting the middle school and high school kids, and they've really kept it going.
He's now the faculty advisor of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers student chapter that sponsors the Pumpkin Drop. Wayne sees in the Pumpkin Drop not only an opportunity to learn about physics, science, and math, but also for younger students to start thinking about their academic future.
It allows them to come to WVU campus, to see the campus, and hopefully start them thinking about college careers in the science, math, and engineering fields.
Wayne points out that the event serves two good purposes.
All of the entry fee proceeds go to support families whose children are being treated here at Ruby Memorial Hospital or Mon General Hospital. And it's just a great educational learning opportunity for these students.
Adrienne Titus is a parent of students at Covenant Christian School in Morgantown, one of whose teams tied for third with Tyler Consolidated. She says part of the appeal of the Pumpkin Drop event is bringing so many different schools and students together.
No, I just think it's great for all the kids to be able to come together from all different areas and cheer each other on. It just brings a sense of unity to all the schools, I think, which is really good.
Titus says students learn more than math and engineering in the process of protecting their pumpkins. Almost all drop contestants submit a collaborative build with at least one other student, requiring compromises on design and material choices, as well as working together on the actual assembly.
It's just getting them to work together as a team, which I think is the best thing, because everyone's got different ideas and they have to come together and agree on one.
The importance of teamwork is a lesson the students themselves are quick to see the value in.
Be wise with the people who you choose partners with.
Now, pumpkins on neighbors' stoops and steps will be a reminder for students of their hard-earned physics lessons, and perhaps inspiration for next year's drop. For Inside Appalachia, I'm Chris Schultz in Morgantown, West Virginia.
Till next time, thanks for joining us as we journey throughout Appalachia. Our theme music is by Matt Jackford. Other music this week was provided by Christian Lopez, The Appalachian Roadshow, Tim Bing, Caleb Cottle, Chris Haddix, and John Ingram. Bill Lynch is our producer. Xander Alloy is our associate producer. Our executive producer is Eric Douglas. Kelly Libby is our editor. Our audio mixer is Patrick Stevens. We had help this week from Folkways editor Nicole Musgrave. You can find us on Instagram @inappalachia. You can also send us an email to insideappalachia@wvpublic.org. Visit wvpublic.org/insideappalachia to subscribe or stream all of our stories. Or look for Inside Appalachia on your favorite podcast app. Inside Appalachia is a production of West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for Inside Appalachia is provided by Concord University, focusing on students' futures. Classes available at concord.edu/apply.
Feeling like Roy Rogers with my red boots on. Bright shiny lights glitter on my gun. Put on my striped pants and hammer away. Start it over tomorrow, day after day. Mile by mile, cent by cent. Smile by smile, dent by dent. Roadside crucifix stares me down a time or two. Ain't got nothing better to do. Better call home.